Hello there in video land. Let's get our radio guys going here on this Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo, yes,
Today is Cinco de Mayo, the 5th of May. Here we are. I'm here with my good friend and kind of co-host for the day. We always do this, and I'm just checking the systems here to make sure it's all right. We always do this with each other because at the end of the day, somebody's got to review city council to keep these guys on the tab for the taxpayers. Know what you're doing.
That's right.
We're the guys who do it. Dave Wheeler, Paul K. Lemire, your city, your voice. There's the sign right up there. If it don't fall off, we'll be lucky because sometimes it falls off. And we're in the studios of 4680Q in downtown Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada, coming to you live on 4680Q.com at noon. And the video usually gets posted by about 3 in the afternoon. I get it up there and posted. So, Davey boy.
It's also red dress day, I think.
That's right.
Red dress day.
I forgot to wear my red dress.
Oh, well, yeah, and red is your color.
Red is my color. Look at those eyes with red. Maybe brown would be a little bit better because I'm full of it. That's what people have told me. But Cinco de Mayo, happy Cinco de Mayo. Everybody says it's a Mexican holiday. It isn't. It means absolutely nothing in Mexico. It's an American holiday. It's not even a holiday, but a celebration day. Day of celebration, and the Mexicans, their Independence Days in September. This is just like they look at the gringos and go, "What are they celebrating?"
Well, Cinco de Mayo goes back to when the French tried to occupy.
That's what
Mexico.
It was.
Yeah.
They threw them out.
They threw them out, but there was this one particular big battle, and it was one of those ones where there were a lot of heroes, et cetera, et cetera. It was a day, a sort of demarcation day where the Mexicans said, "No way," and the French were very powerful at the time. French came looking for the money that the Mexicans owed. That's basically what was going on.
The Mexicans threw them out. They sent them to Canada.
Yeah,
here's what happened.
Oh, that's how
we're suffering ever since. No offense intended there, Senor Blanchette.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to get into the city council agenda here. First, I got to get to my sponsors, though, Davey boy. Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop, Pete's Pizza, Victoria Avenue, your personal favorite, Hamill Machine Company.
Yes, my favorite.
So we look at the weather here. It's changing, and, we're in the right end of it right now. We're moving the right way with it. So you got to get your car in, be proactive, get your car checked out for the summer. You don't want to break down with your wife and kids while you're on your way to Muskoka. You want to be nice and safe and calm on the highway. Have a nice drive. Don't break down. Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop. He is going to give you his free spring inspection. Check all your systems, brakes, air conditioning, coolant, everything, so that you can have a great summer. Let's face it. That's the way you want to do it, right?
Don't want to break down on your way to the Mudcat Festival in Dunnville.
No way. Well, maybe I do, but not because of the Mudcat. Who wants to miss the Mudcat Festival? Yeah, the Mudcat Festival.
I imagine just heading for the Mudcat Festival and your car breaks down.
Wouldn't that be a bummer? Yeah, as long as it's in front of the hotel there on the way, you're all right.
Yeah. You can tip a few back while you're waiting for the tow truck.
Yeah, and you say to yourself, why didn't I go see Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop?
That's right.
If you get in a wreck on the way to the Mudcat Festival, take your car to Wild Bill's Full Body Shop. Car in, car out in showroom condition. You're going to be happy. I'm going to be happy. Dave's going to be happy. The Mudcat's going to be happy.
Yes, because you're going to make it to the festival.
That's right. Anyway, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop. Support our sponsors because they support the show. And you know what? Also, subscribe to the channel. Give us a thumbs up. Leave a comment. That's what we like. It helps the algorithm. It helps us get out there more. It spreads the word. You have more people signing up. And by October 2026, when the election comes up, we might have a nice little gang to deal with the election. That's what you do. Subscribe to the channel. It helps everybody. Thank you so much. We appreciate you watching the video today and listening on 4680Q.com. Okay. So we go through the preliminaries of the city council meeting. Luckily, Davey boy has technology right in front of him here, so we're going to go through it. And really, there's nothing big happening. They start the in camera at 2 o'clock. They're out by 4:30 or 5. Then they start the regular meeting. Sandy Bird is going to sing "Oh Canada."
Oh Canada, Birdie.
Yeah, Sandy used to own Sandy's uniform shops. I think that's the Sandy Bird they're talking about. and she's going to sing it up, and good for her. I love when I see live people singing at the council meeting. Some do a great job. Some are, well, they're learning to sing. But
in this case, we get a bird to sing it.
we get a bird, a morning dove singing, a morning bird. So anyway, Sandy Bird. I'm like, oh, that name. I think I know Sandy. The name sounds familiar, and everything sounds familiar, but I don't know. Who knows?
Reminds me of that Beatles song, "Your Bird Can Sing."
Your bird can sing, and you know what? I'm sure she'll do a good job. So we get through that. We get through the mayor's deputations, presentations, and all the other baloney. And then we get to the first planning item, which is what you guys want to hear, right? You guys don't want to hear about all this other stuff. Although I think one of the firemen are getting an award, which is pretty cool.
That kind of thing, where you sort of recognize the people around, and there was a medical emergency or something, and they want to give credit to what's his name, JT Mills, I think the guy's name.
Yeah, I think
the
that's
city's municipal works.
Yeah.
And they use a volunteer fire department, firefighter.
Yeah.
So yeah,
pretty good.
Really do. Yeah. Recognize those people who do any exceptional things.
Yeah, and I always say this, and I'm going to say it again because I think that like these kind of ceremonies should be relegated to wherever they fit. And maybe this would be at the Gale Center, maybe it would be somewhere else, McBain Center, and get it out of city council meeting just to save time. Only because as a founding member of Doge Niagara, we really worry about money spent, and city council meetings cost the city taxpayers $1,600 an hour. Divide that by 60 minutes, and you'll figure out the per minute cost, which is around $20 or something like that a minute. $25 a minute.
Elon Taz.
Yeah, so we definitely want to, try to move things out of a city council meeting where we are paying $1,600 an hour to have them. So that's my only complaint. But as far as the delegation goes, God bless everybody who gets an award. They're being recognized for service to Niagara Falls or something great they've done for the city of Niagara Falls as ambassadors, winning junior hockey or whatever it is. And so, we have to really appreciate these people in our city who do so much for the city.
Yes, indeed. And I'm with you there, though. You should have a different ceremony at a different time, probably maybe once a month or something like that, where all the recognized people should go, and it can go on, community TV, whatever. But it shouldn't be part of the city council meeting because it is too long as it is.
Yes, and I concur, Dr. Wheeler, with that diagnosis. Anyway, item 7.1, 7701 Lundy's Lane. I think this has been before council before. I'm sure of it, as a matter of fact. And they're looking to increase the density of the building, rezone to turn a 96-unit motel to a 6-story building with 42 units to bring the total on the property to 138 units. And it does include attainable rent for bachelor units and low to moderate rent for 1-bedroom units. It doesn't say how many, though. The design looks fantastic. As always, being on a corner near a traffic light, it's on the corner of Beaver Dams and Lundy's Lane.
Yeah, on the north side of Lundy's Lane there.
Yeah. It would be on the north side of Lundy's Lane and the west side of Beaver Dams on that corner.
Mm-hmm.
It looks great, but, I don't know if you've ever tried to get out of Michelangelo's or those businesses there. It's pretty tough at that stoplight right there. And this is just going to add to the woes. We know Lundy's Lane is a very busy street as it is. So that's the only thing that I saw about it. I'm not concerned about the density or anything, just how the traffic is going to work. I think a lot of it's going to pour onto Beaver Dams Road, and a lot of those people are going to go down Beaver Dams Road maybe to get out of that problem. And there's no way to get from Beaver Dams Road onto Lundy's Lane in the left. I mean, you're right at the light again, so it could be a problem there. We know Lundy's Lane has to be redesigned in some form. But anyway, I think it'll be approved. Nobody attended the public meeting, so there's no concerns, and rightly so. There's really nobody around there. I don't know if they contacted the Lundy's Lane BIA, because that was something. Yeah, that was something a contention last time, that they weren't notified. There was just notices put on the fence. So this looks like a pretty good build. It's a beautiful building. they're the only concerns I have, and I think you'll see that come up with a couple of counselors. What do you think, Dave?
Well, I think it's probably a good fit. You do need the affordable housing areas there. They were looking for a boarding house close by there as well.
Yes,
And
across the street.
yes, so you already concentrate, but you're concentrating. You could start to concentrate low income people all in one place a lot. That could be a problem. I don't really think so, but that's something that we look at. But the idea that it's only going to have zero point 0.6 parking spots per unit is something that's troubling. That would, of course, reduce the amount of traffic that would be in the area because there'd be less cars. But there is this tendency for municipalities to expect people or not to have private vehicles moving forward. And I think I got a quote here. Yeah, the city of Niagara Falls is considering approving lower parking spaces in certain areas due to several factors. These include the ongoing assessment of parking needs in relation to new developments, the influence of neighboring municipalities' parking requirements, and the broader trend, and this part is the important part, and the broader trend toward reducing reliance on private vehicles through initiatives like the Transportation Demand Management. Well, the TDM, yeah, very well, but are they really answering the transportation needs? This is a city where you need a car. Almost everybody needs a car. And if you do go by public transportation, it takes a very long time. It's not that effective here, even though they try it, and hats off to them for doing as best they can. It's still not efficient enough. So when you're talking about removing, you're pushing the trend towards no vehicles, which is an indication to me that our standard of living is going down because they expect you to have either a place to stay and or a car, but not both. So that's my problem with this. Is there is this general trend towards um, a lack of ability to own a car. Let's say you could get into one of these affordable places, and the next thing you might want is a car so that you could employ yourself better. That option is now removed from you.
Yeah, you're seeing a trend with a lot of these OKs on these planning matters. The city says 1.4 parking spaces per unit.
Usually does. This
They
was
use
0.61.
Yeah, and they usually drop it down to 1.1. I've seen. Now this is 0.61, and their reasoning, if you ask the question, well, they'll tell you is that well, they're on a main street. There's bus routes there. There's a lot of amenities close by, so we allow less cars because people won't really need cars there. They'll be able to get around and get to places without cars, and that's a nice concept. But as a working model, that's a really good question whether 0.61 is enough for parking, because if it's not, then you know what happens. They're down the side streets. They're parking all over the place.
Yeah.
And Michelangelo's and Magnolia and everywhere else, anywhere they can find parking, right?
Yeah, they'll be parking on the streets.
Yeah.
They'll be cluttering up the parking lot that is there because they'll try to fit another one or two cars into it. This is a city that most people require a car. Unfortunately, if it was New York City or something like that, you'd never have to have a car.
Some don't bother.
London, Paris, you ever gone through those transportation networks? You never need a car. They're so efficient. But this is a secondary size city, 100,000 people, and we haven't yet serviced everybody in public transportation well enough yet to start making decisions for them on whether or not they need a car.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Item 7.2, planning, another planning matter. Northeast corner of Garner and Angie Road, 6-story residential building with 103 units, including 12 two-level integrated townhouse units. This is a whack of land that the Rudans own next to the Sundowner, and it's vacant right now. There's nothing on that corner, and it's on the corner of Lundy's Lane and Garner Road. Now, right across the street, there's a big project already approved for an apartment building, so it fits in with what's going on down that way. It started as an application for a subdivision in an apartment building in 2021, was revised without the apartment building and approved. This is coming back for the approval of a redesigned apartment building. Its design is beautiful. It fits well with the area. And the recommendation is for approval by city planning staff. I think it'll get approved. I mean, right out there, that's right in with the way Lundy's Lane is going.
Yeah, well, it's the what they call the urban or built up area. They want to intensify what habitation by at least 50%. So it kind of fits into that. In 50% inside the existing settlement areas. But again, I think it has problems with parking. I think also it's reduced the amount of parking spaces
So what is that
to
one?
0.7, I think it is. But it does have 118 bicycle parking spaces.
Okay.
So that's a little bit different. Now they're expecting a lot of cyclists
to
in
live
that
there.
area. I don't know. I didn't look into how much of that's going to be affordable, though. Did you?
No, I didn't. I looked. I didn't notice it when I was reading it. I didn't notice anything about affordable housing, to be honest with you. The other one, yes. This one, I didn't notice. I might have missed it. So, when you go in and take a look at this on the agenda, or when they discuss it, I'm sure somebody will bring that up if there's none there. I'm hoping there is, but I never noticed anything. And like I say, I could have just missed it.
Now, one resident by email asked questions about traffic, speeding, sight lines, and that sort of thing, which are pretty good for a question and inquiry. But they will have to adjust the road there in order for it to accommodate this. So I don't know how much it's going to cost the city, but it's let's face it, we need the housing, and that's just adds to it. So
Well,
my problem, of course, is the amount of traffic in the area.
once again, we get into traffic on Lundy's Lane because it's a zoo already.
Yeah.
I think this one, in my opinion, anyway, is probably fits with that area and what's going on in that area more than the one down the street at 7701 on the corner of Beaver Dams and Lundy's Lane. Because right there at that area, if you've noticed, there's nothing there that's above like 1 or 2 stories. And all of a sudden, they want to put the 6-story on the corner.
Yeah.
And there's nothing there. We got the Outlet Mall, we got the Ramada, which is 2 stories. We've got the cemetery. We've got the businesses across the street, Nick and Angelo's, Magnolia, the used to be called the Carriage House Restaurant or something. And if you go down the street, I think Cario Place might have 3 stories. That's probably the tallest building in the vicinity of that building. So that's going to stick out like a sore thumb on that corner. But I think this one fits in, especially with what's going on across the street.
Yeah.
So it kind of fits for me. I think they're going to approve it. And I think you hit on a couple of good points there: affordability and traffic and parking spaces. Those questions will be asked.
Sight lines, yeah.
Yeah, sight lines. But at the end of the day, I think it'll be approved. It fits pretty good out that way.
Well, it fits with the city planning, which is in tandem with the Ontario planning for more residencies. Try to maximize as much as you can within areas that are already serviced. So that is the push, so that you don't have to bring brand new infrastructure to a place. You can use the stuff that's already there and intensify that. And for some guys I know, that might be prime real estate because it's walking distance to the Sundowner.
Well, that's a bonus. That's like a perk of living there, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a perk if you're got nothing to do, you're a little bit lonely. You just walk next door and
watch the ballet.
Have a nice dinner.
Yeah, have a nice dinner and watch the ballet.
I have nothing between 7-1 and 7-2. Now we got 7-3, whatever's going on there. You might have something, Davey boy.
7-3 is just what you actually. It looks good because around the Grassy Brook area, this area, Fox wants to expand its industrial footprint.
Okay.
And they want to get a couple of lots up there around the Grassy Brooks area. They're close to where they already are,
mm-hmm.
And expand them as prestige industrial lands.
Oh,
basically. Good. So that is a good sign, because to me that means they're going to expand. That means more employment. So I was just happy to read that. I hope they don't make too much of a mess, though. But as far as I know, they do just fabrication and their storage areas and things of that kind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're pretty good, Fox. They've been around a long time. I move right to 8.1, surface treatment program.
Yes, that was, I like that too. Now, the only problem I see with that is Circle Circle P is the one that won the contract.
Yeah, Phipps.
Yeah, and they got they were the lowest ones. But regardless of that, the budget had to be expanded.
Yeah, by $211,000.
So you see, they were right out of it when they made the estimate in the first place. Now, this is a good thing for the city overall. I think they got a pretty good price for it. And what they do is they take asphalt emulsion and mix it with grit or stone or something like
granular.
that. Yeah. And then they spread it all over the existing roads, and then they compact it. And this adds to the life of our city roads. I don't think it would add much to the life of this one here or most of the other roads I've been driving on today.
Yeah, they're beat.
Yeah, so they have to be just redone at all. But if you have already to jump on this on your existing infrastructure, your roads that are in good shape, start doing this kind of thing and add life to it at a much cheaper price than retopping it.
Yeah, exactly. And I worked for Norjon and did this for years. So it's a really good product. It works well. They used it a lot on the back roads back in the day before asphalt became so expensive. And now they're starting to do it in the city roads. And if you want to see a really good example of it in town, go to Temperance Avenue. They surface treated Temperance Avenue and with the stone and tar and chip or whatever you want to call it. And they did a fantastic job. And once the stone kicks up a lot and goes to the side, once that works itself in that, it makes a beautiful road. That Temperance Avenue is beautiful. And it's not paved. It's not asphalt. You might think it is. So, yeah, they had to come up with $211,000 more for the contract, which to me, okay, where'd they get the money? They put our taxes up 5%. There's another $211,000, and I've got probably about $5 million that they've added to the capital budget.
And what are the reserve funds?
And yeah, well, it's a sleight of hand because we don't have the money. They raised our taxes. $5 million equals about 7% decrease on our taxes. So like every time they spend money, you have to think of it in terms of what did we pay and what is this going to mean? Well, this means a third of a point on $700,000 raises our taxes 1%. So I always look at it just as, this is extra money we don't have because they said they're going to raise our taxes.
Well, it comes out of it says here that the council will approve of the use of unallocated Canadian community building funds in order to accommodate the request for budgetary increase. This is Fed money. This is federal money that comes to the municipalities
for infrastructure.
Yes.
Yeah, they can't use it on anything else.
Yeah. So this is if the feds are paying for it, okay.
But, well, hold it now. Where's the Fed get their money?
Well, they get it from us, but but at least it doesn't have to come out of our budget here in town.
No, no.
Yeah, it's our tax money for sure, but it doesn't have to come out of our specific coffers.
Yeah, when anybody says federal, provincial money or anything like that, any money that has to do with government, never forget it's our money. No, don't let them think, the feds are paying $2 million. Where do you think the feds got the money from us? There's only one guy. That's the taxpayer where they get their money from. They don't produce any money, the government.
That's right. I think I go to the government. I'm going to go to the feds and say I want to withdraw some money for some infrastructure I'm doing in my house right now. I need a bigger TV.
So that's good. Surface treatment is good. So Doge has to look into this where they're getting all this extra money. You're almost Doge yourself there. You figured it out right away. 8.2. Well, another budget amendment is needed for an urgent rural road repair. So here we go.
And this also from the Canada Community Building Fund.
Yeah. Well, that's great. That council being asked to dip into some 2026 funds. Now they're going. They're dipping into next year's pot of gold. More money that we allegedly don't have, but this time we don't. It's a forecast of what we are going to get. Because 2026 budget isn't around yet, so they're taking it from a forecast of what we're going to get.
Well, that's nice of them. Well, for sure we'll get this. For sure.
Doge, where are you?
Spend it. Yeah.
Doge, where are you? The ink isn't dry on the capital budget yet, and we're already $5 million over what we approved, maybe more. I can't remember. I'm losing track of it. But it's always interesting to see at the end of the year when we look at the final balance sheet. extra money over a capital budget, like 50 million, expenditure 60 million, 10 million showed up from somewhere out of nowhere.
Can't be helped. Can't be helped.
Okay, so urgent rural road repair.
Up.
They got to fix those back roads. They're a big mess. Okay.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. So it has to be done. And that's the bottom line, I guess.
The bottom line is always the bottom line, right? So got to do it. Well, and in defense, I mean, a lot of times it's better to take care of problems before they get really bad. You have to tear up the whole road and pave it all. If they can, do some remedial work.
Action, yeah.
Yeah, proact on it. That's a good thing, I guess. In the long run, it'll probably save us money, but at the end of the day, it's going to have to be done.
We want our hillbillies and, Hicks and Rubes be able to come into town once a week, right?
We got to take care of our guys out in Willoughby and Chippewa and everywhere else in Crowland.
Yeah, they got to come into town for banjo practice.
Okay, 8.3 graffiti action plan. I'm going to get to that after I talk about my second sponsor. Is that all right?
You go right ahead.
Okay, and that's Pete's Pizza on Victoria Avenue. Now, if you want a good piece of pizza, you want a good pie, you want a good party tray, it doesn't matter. Go to Pete's Pizza. These guys have been around for a few years here now. Mike worked in an Italian restaurant for 15 years. He knows the score. They use the Mancini family recipe, and that's been around for 40 years. For the crust and for the sauce, Mike takes Saputo mozzarella, mixes it with brick cheese, puts it on the pizza perfectly in the right ratio with the sauce, so you get a fantastic flavor. And they use all fresh ingredients for your toppings, whatever you want, they've got. But they're not a one-hit wonder here. The wings are fantastic. Steak and cheese poutine is great. They have panzerotti. They have a full menu of all kinds of things. No matter what, even if you don't like pizza, you're going to like all their other offerings. So you can't go wrong. They're open till midnight during the week, at 2 a.m, Friday and Saturday for your convenience. And it's very easy to get a pizza from there. 905-374-2222. Give them a call. Order a pizza. My buddy Tony Nero says, I ordered one and they got it to me in half an hour. Hot and fresh.
There you go.
How can you beat that? Now, you can also go to the website and order, Pete'sPizzaVictoria.ca, or they use Dash and Skip and all the other delivery services. You can't go wrong. Pete's Pizza on Victoria Avenue. Order your pizza today. You know you want one. Every time I talk about that, I want a pizza. I love pizza.
Me too. And let me remind everyone, you won't be able to get such a pizza in Dunville. So before you go to the before you go off to the Mudcat Festival, make sure you get a pizza.
Take one with you.
Yes, indeed.
To go.
One for the road and one for when you get there.
Thank you so much for supporting our sponsors. They support the city. They support the show. Okay, graffiti action plan, and I can't wait to hear this discussion. They want a bylaw that requires utility companies to remove graffiti on their property, and that's like hydro boxes and stuff like that, in a reasonable amount of time. And bill the companies if the city has to go and remove them. They also want a wrap program. They want to wrap the boxes with a budget of $1,000 or $15,000. Plus, they want $15,000 for a graffiti assistance program in the 2026 operating budget. They found 229 instances of graffiti, 24 on private buildings, 134 on utility boxes, 18 on mailboxes, and 53 other places. Man, I can't wait to they send the federal government a bill for graffiti. Oh, that'll be a good one. Well, Carney will say, by that Jesus, get the hell out of here. I got to go talk to Trump. He's going to tell him. I have to ask Trump if I can do that. Charge
He's talking to him tomorrow, isn't he?
I think so. Yeah. Something's going to be going on tomorrow. Now, this, to me, is a real dumb way to do it. I mean, I've said this before. This won't work. You clean it up. They're going to be back the next day, putting it back on. This is like a cat mark on their territory by spraying on your tires. They just come back. The only way to stop it, and I'm going to talk about this more on my Thursday show, is to throw them in jail. Wow. Fine them $5,000. You got to set an example, and they'll understand that it hurts more to do it than to just walk by and not do it.
Well, that's the first thing I thought of, and that's the first thing I put here. Punitive.
Yes.
I put in under that title, graffiti action plan, I put punitive. What are the measures are we taking to stop this? As you said, that we'll just come back and do it again. Now, the assistance program, I'm sure, is probably for businesses or residences that, unfortunately become victimized by this, and it's sort of a big expense for them to address this. But punitive action, that's what you have to do. These people are vandals, and they're not even good graffiti artists. For God, we got the worst graffiti artists ever. They are amateurs. They stink. I don't know how you.
I never thought of that.
Yeah, they are the worst. You drive around here, and it is like, where did we get our graffiti? We got the flunkards from graffiti school for sure.
Yeah, they got to step up their game.
Yeah, they stink. Now, if they make good graffiti or something like that, it might be, tolerable to look at for a time, but it is just junk. How can you even dare raise a can to blast a wall or something with your lack of talent?
Yeah, they're not Banksy, that's for sure.
That is exactly the words I used to someone. I said, "This is not Banksy, definitely not." And they're unimaginative and a poor artist. No color coordination. They stink.
Arrest them for being wannabes.
Yeah. So when we do arrest them, we're gonna have to, train them to be carpenters or something like that. They certainly do not have the knack for this.
No, they just put all kinds of scribbles on it and take off in white. I mean, they just make a mess. They don't really. It's not nothing to look at, really.
Oh God, they're the worst graffiti artists I've ever seen. And I've been in a lot of places around the world, my friends, and I've seen graffiti everywhere.
Well, just go sit by the trains going on Drummond and Portage Road. You'll see some of the best graffiti in the world there.
All right.
Right? They know what they're doing.
I actually met one of the best graffiti artists in the world who became a mural artist in Thailand. But that's another story. That'll take too much time. But anyway, so the punitive thing, we got to get after them. The vinyl wrap is a good idea because if it gets graffitied, then you can remove the wrap and rewrap it. That was a quick way of disposing of it. So as much vinyl as you can put on these surfaces, that would be good. As long as it's easily removed, with a little heat texture or whatever, so that the graffiti artist can't remove it. And then you can easily fix the damage they do. But
sounds good to me.
They got to go to jail and be retaught a vocation of some kind because they are not artists. They are not, Maybe they make a good plumber, carpenter, or something, but they certainly aren't good artists.
Now, I jumped from 8.3, the graffiti action plan. I can't wait to listen to that. To 9.2, notice of trespass policy. I don't know if you got anything in between those.
Well, I got 8.4, the municipal heritage thing. I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah, they're going to deem a building on Culp Street or something, a municipal heritage building, and take a couple off down on Erie Avenue. Is that the one?
Yeah, well, the ones on Erie Avenue don't exist anymore. They burned down.
Yeah, the graffiti artists got them.
Yeah, the ones that put a match in front of their spray can. But I thought this was pretty interesting because it's a Regency cottage style.
I looked at it.
Yeah.
It's a pretty nice house. Old.
Yeah. It was built in 1840.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of the Forsyths who were one of the Empire Loyalists. And of interest, William Forsyth, who actually built the house, was one of the early tourist operators in the place.
Oh, I never knew that.
So he's begin. And of course, this style is Regency, which denotes the Prince of Wales, who took over for his dad, George III, when his dad was crazy. And he took over for about 10 or so years. But the Regency style actually expanded beyond those years and influenced the styles right up into the Victorian era. And this is one of them. And it is a unique building, unique architecture, and it's it should be heritage.
Was it one of the very first cottage style houses as well in Niagara Falls? Because that style, you see it today a lot, but I mean back then they didn't seem to be that cottage style. And, with the roofs that come down to the eaves all around it, rather than the peak roofs.
Yeah,
with gable ends and stuff like that. I think they said something there about that being a unique way to build houses back in that time anyway.
Yeah, like I said, it's a Regency design, and like I said, it's by the actual Regency time period is actually just 1811 to 1820.
Oh, there you go.
But the Regency architecture and art actually expanded from 1795 through to 1857. Basically, well, it says 1837, but here in Canada, of course, things would come later. So when that design came here, it was probably very, very unique. Probably a lot of loot because, and it was made of stone, which made it very difficult for the early pioneers here. And this was in 1840, still very much a pioneer town.
Yeah, I looked at it because I didn't realize down in Culpster there was anything like that. It was pretty cool. Pretty nice little house. Just a little house, not a big house. Like maybe it's a bit longer because it's not 2 stories or anything, right? It's just it looks to me like 1 story.
Yeah, that's the designation of you. You don't often get cottages that are 2 stories.
Yeah, exactly, because the way the roof goes. Anyway, that's all I got in the 8s. And 9.2 is the notice of trespass policy, and basically they say they can throw you out of City Hall for harassing staff, and what harassing is really not clear. I guess if you tell them they don't know what they're talking about, maybe that's harassing. Harassment is kind of one of those things. I mean, if you punch them in the head, that's harassment for sure. And it's probably assault and battery, but harassment could be what they deem it is, I guess.
Well, you can see somebody losing it with an elected official. You can see somebody very frustrated at what happened. You know, their sewer hasn't been fixed or something like that, and they go down in a fury and start barking at the first person they come across. This does happen in City Hall. It does happen where people just get unhinged and lose it. I've heard of incidences like this many times. Yeah.
I've seen it.
Were you one of the participants?
No. I don't do that stuff. I sit here and I'll talk about that, but I wouldn't harass them. I mean, that to me, that's stupid. You don't get anywhere doing that. They just think you're whatever. They just don't listen to you anymore. They just think you're a crackpot or like that kind of thing. So they don't listen to you. You got to be able to talk to freely and say what you think in a calm manner. You see a lot of that city council. People aren't happy with it, but they get up there. Then you get the odd one who tells them to F off, and then Mayor Diodati's got to call the sergeant at arms to haul them out and everything else. So,
well, we're talking about the trespassing. So that at the particular time when during business operations or whatever of the city, and we find this to be more and more of a problem because how many times you hear about people going into municipal buildings and shooting people or throwing stuff or stabbing them.
It is a problem.
Yeah. So the trespass rules have to tighten up.
But I didn't think you could be trespassed on public property. We own City Hall. It's our building. We have the right to go in there. Now, what
about behind the counter? It is public property up until a counter?
Yes.
Can you back in the counter?
No.
So that part is trespass probably.
Yeah, you can't go in offices.
Yeah.
You can't go in any public part of it you can go into. And I mean, if you cause a disturbance, I don't know if you can be trespassed. I mean, you could be asked to leave probably. But if you're in there not doing anything, just hanging around, like you see these guys on TikTok and that a lot, they're in public buildings taking videos. And they tell them to get out, and they say, it's a public building. I'm a taxpayer. I can be here.
Yep.
You can't throw me out unless I'm doing something. And then they call the cops, and the cops come, and they say, what are you going to charge me with? And then they give them something, and then they say, well, you can't do that because that's not law. Well, it's policy. A policy isn't law. You can't do that. And then eventually the cops leave, and the guy's allowed to think. Now, he can't go into offices. He can't go outside of where the public can normally access.
Yes.
So it's a crazy thing, but I was just looking at that and I said, can they trespass? Obviously, they think they can because they're making a thing about it.
Well, basically, they want to tighten up the trespass rules, basically, and make it more safe for elected officials and more for the staff because, when somebody starts screaming about a traffic ticket or something like that, they might go behind the counter or whatever.
Jump the counter.
Yeah.
They jump the shark. But yeah, this is it. And let me say right now, do not go in there and harass the people that work there. They work there. They don't make the decisions. Number 2, do not harass the politicians on the street.
You can come here and harass them.
Let me do it here.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, you shouldn't be out there. If you see a politician, you don't get along with them, don't harass them. Like if you want to have a civil conversation about something, that's fine, but don't start yelling at them and doing crap that we saw during elections and stuff. The one guy in St. Gavin's, his car was spray painted and everything else. I mean, it's not that. No, come on, you got to be smarter than that. You get nowhere. All you're considered is a crackpot, and then they're never going to listen to you.
Exactly.
Right. So be sane. Have a good conversation about it. Tell them about your displeasure in a calm way.
Be polite and logical.
Yeah.
That's all. Be polite.
Yeah, here. Please use it.
Yes.
Please use it. There it is. The guy's holding a brain. Please use it. 9.3, Davey boy. Storm and wastewater management.
I'm using it, so I got to cool it off.
I'm going to charge you. Storm and wastewater management. The report is 34 pages long. If you care to read through it, interesting to note that sewer backup problems have decreased, showing that the increased maintenance programs are working. However, pest influx complaints. I like how they put that because that means rats.
Rats.
Increased meaning. They're entry points for these pests in the system that have to be identified and repaired. If you care to read through it, and there are many items like pests and environmental incidents to read about. Good luck. It's pretty dry.
You missed the B'nai Tikva congregation agreement.
Well, I didn't even pay attention to that.
I thought it was really interesting.
What
it was
it?
Like
what number is that?
It's 8.6.
Oh, okay, 8.6.
Yeah.
We're regressing. Hold on. Let's finish this one first. We'll go back. So it's pretty dry reading, going through an agroclimate for the past 30 years, to stormwater pond monitoring, to creeks and stream monitoring, to complaints regarding the system in general. So it's an interesting read if you're into the environment and you want to know what's going on with our waste and water and stormwater management. But other than that, watch the show because the counselors who have questions will probably get it all explained for you anyway. Back to 8.6.
8.6, which I found really interesting, is the B'nai Tikva congregation agreement. Basically, we had one synagogue in town here. It was the B'nai Jacob, and then it amalgamated with the temple Tikva, the Tikva temple. And what did it mean? Well, B'nai really means sons of, basically, or children of. And so anyway, so what's happened is they have come to an agreement with the city, or have maintained agreement. They have special access to parts of Lundy's Lane for Jewish burials.
Lundy's Lane Cemetery, right.
Yeah. Now these are special because normally they have to be done in Jewish law and also in Islamic law. They're close a lot of times, those two religions. They have to bury they try to bury the person within 24 hours if they can.
Before sundown or something like that?
Yeah, as quick as they can anyways. And always in a very humble, plain wooden box and that kind of thing, because it's important to the religion that you blend back in with the earth, that kind of thing. So I think it's very important and kind of cool that they're making arrangements so this continues to happen. And,
neat.
So I thought that was pretty good. And remember, our Jewish community here produced Barbara Frum, who was one of the very first female anchors, very notable journalist, and her son David Frum, who is today one of the most influential conservative commentators in both Canada and the United States. So I just thought that connection was really cool, that we should acknowledge that.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, I read about it. I read about the special place in Lundy's Lane Cemetery for it, and but I didn't really think anything of it other than that. But the Jewish community represents a lot of Niagara Falls. I mean, you look at most of the businesses that were downtown. Big ones were Roseburg's and that
Mueller's,
Mueller's, and that a lot of them. A lot of the first stores on Queen Street back in the day were Jewish run. Ballots down here. A lot of the clothing stores, the haberdasheries were Jewish run, BJ's and all them. So yeah, they contributed a lot to this community. So interesting.
Yeah, I bought my first boots off, work boots off Marty's
Marty's menswear.
Yeah. And I didn't know he was Jewish at the time or anything. I learned that many years later.
Paul Sylvan.
I wasn't hip to any of that kind of thing. Who was Jewish, who isn't, or whatever. That didn't matter to me then, but I since learned it. In any case, I just thought that was a good time to bring that up, to mention the Jewish community here. Sadly, it's shrinking, of course. our
Shrinkage.
yes, our synagogue is gone. But anyway, I just thought that would be cool. That was
Cool, man. Good. Thanks for bringing that up. I would have went right by it because I just read it and I go, okay, well, they're putting this special part of the cemetery, but yeah, we do have a long history in Niagara Falls, and there was a couple synagogues. There was one on Ferry Street, right down by towards the center, and then there was one on Stanley Avenue on the right hand side, just up from Ferry Street.
I didn't know about that one.
Yeah, there's one there, and there was one on Ferry Street.
Oh, you mean that one might be Temple Tikva.
B'nai B'rith or something.
Well, it says Temple Tikva amalgamated with B'nai Jacob, and then became B'nai Tikva. So that one might have been that.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah, it could be. I went right from 9.3 to 11.4. I never saw anything else I wanted to talk about here today.
Oh, 9.2. That's the trespass agreement.
Yeah, we did that. Yep.
City operates its own storm. Yeah, that's just more information.
Mm-hmm.
The city operates its own. That would be 9.3, and so that's kind of interesting to read. And redress of I can't even read my own writing. 9.4 redress of taxes. So 9.4 has to do with you can ways in which you can have your taxes redressed if you think you're paying too much, if it's wrongly assessed, etc. So that goes into that. So
there's a big list in there. I read through it of people are getting their taxes reduced because of one thing or the other.
Yeah.
The structure's not there. It's been on fire and now it's been torn down. There's a lot of reasons why there's a change in tax status.
Yeah. So that's good for anybody that's interested in that. They may find themselves in that situation. And so that would be should be of interest to anyone that way. And 9.5 is the AMP, of course. Is that where you're sitting now?
AMPs?
Yeah.
AMPs, yeah, that's the well, there's two parts to that. So I read that one, and it's just in addition to the AMPs that they talked about in another meeting, but there's another one.
Yes, non-parking administrative
bylaw violations. Yeah. So there's that, and they're adding to it, and then there's another one that Lori's bringing up later that I have written down to talk about.
Okay, let me just talk about the answer for your. What it is a means by which to speed up administration of bylaw enforcement by avoiding the courts. So you're going to have a hearing officer for these for any kind of offenses, and that the delegates to be the authority would be the CEO, the general manager of planning, and the manager of municipal enforcement. Basically, they're just trying to bypass the lengthy and ponderous court system and sort of mitigate justice right here. Easily done. I suppose you could have, if you really wanted to, push it into the courts. But
well, that was my question to Lori. Councilor Coco, I asked her about that. Do you have the option to do that? Right. So she was going to find out, because is this what you're doing? Is you're arguing your charge. So if they say you're getting a fine for this, then you want to argue, well, this is like a tribunal, a mediator, keep it out of the courts and try to settle it between you and the city before it has to go to a lengthy court proceeding.
Yeah.
So my question is this final, their decision final? If they don't agree with you and they say, no, you got to pay it, can you move it on to the court system? I say you should be able to. I don't see what's wrong, other than if you get a $66 fine, are you really going to take it through the court system?
Well, I actually, I think we talked about this before on one of the shows, and I think at that time, I'm pretty sure at that time you could push it into the court if you wished. But I think the judge is the first thing the judge is going to say, so have you gone through this mitigation process? And what was their hearing? And what, you had your ability to make your case then. This better be good.
Yeah, well, that's what happens in small claims court. You go there, and before you get into the actual trial, before a judge, you go into a mediator, and it's usually a district deputy district court judge or something like that, right? And they listen to both sides, and then they advise you. And if they say, listen, I've tried a lot of these kind of cases. There's a contract there. You signed the contract, so you're under the terms of the contract, so you have no case. Now, you're welcome to go and pursue it to a higher level than me, But I'm going to tell you right now, because I do these cases,
Yeah.
that you're probably going to lose, and then you're going to have to spend $100. You're going to have to pay for their court time and everything else, right? If they got to get a lawyer, there's going to be other charges. You're better off just to say, nice try and walk away. But that's up to you,
Yeah.
And so if you're wise, you take the guy's advice. But if you're not, then you go through and you lose money. So I
Yeah,
think
your
that's
car won't start, and it's not the fault of the guy that put the tires on.
yeah.
He's the last guy to touch your car, but that's probably not who did it.
So that's what this is. It's like something outside of parking that the bylaw officers, um, if you got weeds in your yard and you don't cut them, they come in. They send the city to come in. They send you the bill. You want to argue it, you can do it, but you'll have the bylaw guy there say, "Well, we gave him a warning. We asked him to do it. We gave him, a couple months. He never did it. Now we levied the fine, and the guy's going to be saying, yeah, well, yeah, you got to pay."
This is
So
taxpayer money. Just to remind you too that when you go to court, it takes city staff time, and it takes the legal department time. It takes some of the staff have to come off their other duties to be at court, to be at court for these things. So it's a big pain in the neck, and I think it's a good process. You do have the option. I believe you'll find out whether they can go to court afterwards.
I think so.
It seems to me that they can, but generally speaking, it's a savings to the taxpayer.
Yep, and we're going to go into 11.4 unless you have something else. Before that, that's my next one. But before
the
that,
animal thing at 10.10.
but before I go to that, I got to get to my third sponsor,
Okay.
Hamel Machine Company. Now, since 1948, Hamel Machine Company has been serving Niagara Falls, and and Dave knows this. These small machine shops are very, very important to the local industry. A local industry cannot wait to have parts shipped in for different machines and that they use and they have. Time is money. When they're shut down, they're losing money. So what do? They go to a small machine shop like Hamel, and Hamel says, "Let's see it. Okay, we can fix it. No, we can't fix it, but we can re-engineer it and make you a brand new part." They have 3D printers, they have water jet cutters, they can make brand new parts, they can machine the part you have, they can help you to fix any problem that you have and get you going again. Now Hamel was a small machine company, but now they're worldwide. They're not only a machine company, they're innovators, they're inventors. They'll take a part to a machine and figure out how they can make it better, how they can make it more efficient, and they can help your business save money, creating whatever product you have. And they ship some of these parts all over the world for agricultural products, the agricultural industry. They help the wine industry, richest products in Fort Erie. These big companies that need help with their systems, they help them. They have electrical engineers, computer designers, graphic designers. They have everything there that you need. But they're not just for the big guys. You need something for your house. You shear a pin, you break something. They can help you to fix it, put it back together, and get you running again without spending thousands of dollars on a brand new one. Hamel Machine Shop. This is what they do. They do it every day. They know what they're doing. If you have a problem, go see Hamel Machine Company. They'll be able to help you, guaranteed. And they're really good guys. They're not going to hammer you for a lot of money. They're going to give you the shop rate and make sure they help you out and fix you up.
Yeah, they're essential because you know what? A little place like that can go in and around the industries of the area, from the agro industries and the vineyards and so on, to the local factories and so on, and and know those factories like the back of their hand after a while, and they can easily fill whatever need they have. So they are essential to the area, and it's a good thing we have them.
It sure is. It sure is. Support our sponsors. They support the show. Hamel Machine Company. Go to hamelmachine.ca. You can see the beautiful stuff that they do and how they help industry in the Niagara region and around the world. Thank you very much for supporting our sponsors.
Is the rumors true that they're going to expand in Dunnville because they like the Mudcat Festival so much?
That could be.
It could be.
That could be. That could be. You never know. Once the U.S. takes over Canada, they might just put a place across the border. I got 11.4. You got something else? 10 point something?
Yeah, it was just the animal control thing. They're just reevaluating, the terminology when it has to do with animals, and um, the I don't know, the animal control people, and and the interesting thing I thought of is the service animals and how they're defined. They're just changing definitions. So a service dog means, it used to say trained by a recognized school, blah blah blah, but it is refined in the new one as a service animal means an animal that is required for the purposes of aiding a person with a disability. And that I think was quite important. And the fact that in our city, I didn't know this, but you're only allowed 3 adult dogs in every house. That's the maximum in every household. But if you have a service dog, that's not included.
Okay.
So I just wanted to point those out.
Defining the different,
Yeah,
the different things that work with service animals.
yeah, and they are essential. If anybody being around with someone that requires a service animal, it's a great deal of training. I've seen them. I've seen the dogs that they use for autism kids, and
Tim Shafley, right?
Yeah.
His dog is invaluable to him.
Yeah.
So that's great. Item 11.4, Ontario Senior of the Year nomination form. You can nominate someone that has contributed and made their community a better place by enriching our community's social, cultural, and civic. Well, I don't qualify for that.
You do. You can get my proper spelling of my name off my website.
Yeah, you do. You do a lot. Dave does a lot for the city of Kiwanis Club. He does the bingos, the Sunday bingos, and
I was a caller last night, as a matter of fact. I was a caller last night. I had a lot of fun doing that.
But so nominate some senior. I think I'm out of the running. I don't think I contribute a lot to anything. So,
well, I think a show like this. Look, I'll make the case that you're always telling everybody to get out and vote, and we had a bumper crop of voters in the last federal election. So
yeah,
there you 70%. Go. I think you can take some credit for that.
Well, there you go. I don't know about that, but I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Okay, 11.5, DEI Plan 2024. Now, these guys got to realize DEI is dead and gone. This region insists on pursuing it further. We want the best of the best working for the city and region. Race, sex, and any other factor that would work into their hiring practices are not welcome, not by me anyway. And we don't want to fill gaps with anything except merit. It has to be dropped immediately and hired based on nothing but merit. Amen. And another part of this report was dead information for the Niagara region. I read it all. It's very hard to understand, but it talks about the current debt situation in the region. They're currently looking for 157 million from loans, debentures. This will raise the region's debt to 438.6 million, almost $500 million. A lot of information there that I really didn't understand. It's a lot of stuff in there. If you are a Philadelphia lawyer, you may get it. I read it, and I don't get a lot of it. But
yeah, it's distressing. The democracies of the world run on debt. They fuel themselves with debt, and I don't know. The Grim Reaper's coming. Eventually. The Grim Reaper and like the Repo Man's coming. You look at that in New York back in the 80s when they kept having their debt skyrocket, that banks refused to give them, and then the banks took over the administration of the city. This is what you're going to cut. This is what you're going to do. That's it. And I think that's coming for a lot of the governments if they keep pursuing this need for money they can't afford.
Well, I had two concerns about it, because if they lose their AAA plus or AA plus rating, then interest rates go up. Right, that's what happens if you start downgrading. That depends on your financial situation. The second thing that I have really concerns about is in that whole thing, I read it through. There was no mention of the 400 million plus we need for the new Niagara South waste treatment plant. That's $400 million, and that's going to service everything south of Lundy's Lane, including all the new builds in Southwest Niagara, plus the new subdivisions on Montrose Road by the new hospital and the new hospital. So I didn't see a dime, nothing talked about for that. And it's coming up. We're going to need it. And
we're going to have to ask the big poobah where that money's coming from.
Yeah, because I didn't see a mention of it. Like they're putting money for this and roads and infrastructure, $79.9 million going for long-term care home builds in 2025. And at the end of the day, I didn't see anything about the South Niagara water treatment plant, which is sorely needed. We know we need it. And the ones that we have, we need 400 million just to keep them and bring them up to snuff. So,
Yeah, our water and wastewater
ouch.
is a disaster right now.
Ouch.
It's old, in need of repair, held together by wire and duct tape.
11.6 transit report. We got to get through this. It's 1 o'clock.
Okay.
The Dog and Pony Show that presented last council meeting, but the outstanding answer I'm looking for, and I know Councilor Lococo is, why did the cost to Niagara double from 7.5 million when we ran our own system to over 15 million when the region took it over? They say ridership is up, but to me, when you introduce 50,000 new people into a region with no cars, of course ridership's up. How are they going to get around?
Exactly.
So
is it going to be sustained ridership?
Well, that's what I mean. I don't think it's a forced increase because they brought in people who don't have cars and don't have the ability to buy cars.
Not yet.
It's not an organic increase because this system is so good, we got to ride it and we got to use it. That's not wise. So it's a little bit of gaslighting as far as I'm concerned. There's a lot of information running through the 20 pages or so. You can read it, see what you think, and they'll talk about it tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock when it goes. Now, I don't know if you have anything else.
No, that's as far as I read all the other stuff.
I got items 13.1, 13.2, and 13.33 motions by Lori Lococo.
Okay. The only other thing, one letter that was written, I think, by one of the town, Guelph, I think, put the fact that we need emergency vehicles built in Canada because
I saw that.
Yeah. So I thought that was a good idea because we're going to need them. We're going to need a sustained amount of them. We can't pay a fortune, tariff to the hilt. So I thought that was pretty good. But after that, go ahead.
Yeah, well, maybe Carney will make a deal where we don't have to pay tariffs. 13.1, 13.33 motions by Councilor Lococo. The one that is most interesting, the one that I'm looking at, is the AMPS one that you were talking about. Mm-hmm. And the whole AMPS program is kind of confusing. They want to expedite violations through a committee where you can appeal, but it really isn't clear what recourse you have if the committee rules against you, like I said. Now, John Ringo Beam brought this up to me, and I didn't know the answer. I asked Lori, and we'll see if we get an answer for that, if you can go to court if you don't like the decision that this committee made. John was also concerned that if you don't comply with the bylaw order for, say, a trailer you're parked in your driveway, if they have the right to come and tow it out of there. Because in this thing, it kind of indicates that if you don't comply with the request to remove and you lose this thing, then they send the tow truck down to yank it off your personal property.
How big a trailer they're talking about here?
I think it's just a travel trailer. I don't think we're talking like a container or a fifth wheel trailer, an 80-foot trailer or anything. I can't imagine anybody having that.
What is the objection of having it in your driveway anyway?
If it's not being used, it's just
sit there rusting away.
Okay. Like a piece of junk.
Yeah, they're looking for junk collectors that leave junk in their property. Yeah.
Like old cars and stuff too. People, they bring a car and they're going to fix it up. Then they get another one. And before you know it, you got 10 cars parked in the guy's driveway. They haven't turned a wheel in 10 years. It's just like becomes a junkyard. It looks terrible. And it just brings down the values of the neighborhood. So, to get them moved out of there would be good. You're not allowed to have that. So we have to see what that happens at the meeting tonight. That's going to be an interesting one because, you're working against your right to own your own property and have what you want on it versus the right of the neighborhood to, the same reason you can't play music all night because the right of your neighborhood, the right of your neighbors, come into perspective too, right? They're living there and they don't want somebody blasting music all night, so there's a bylaw to stop it by 10 or 11, right?
And they don't want to be living beside a trailer with flat tires and rusting away either. So
no, exactly. And there's so many different bylaws. There's so many gray areas in our bylaws about what can and can't be done on property, and it's always a battle to clean it up. Now, when you get out in the country where your next neighbor is 200 yards away, and that kind of thing, you see a lot of this stuff going on, which is fine because it's not really a neighborhood. But as we encroach on those properties, it's going to start getting interesting as to what rights they have and was anything grandfathered. Like they lived there for 50 years. And 50 years ago, if you were on a Montrose Road by the ES Fox, you were in the country. My mother's going to be 100 years old. When I tell her she's at Millennium Trail Manor on McLeod Road, she goes, "Oh, way out there?" And I mean, anybody in the city knows that's almost the middle of the city now, the way it's growing.
Well, there was one property that was all junk. If you remember Montrose Road there.
Yeah, Buck Matthews.
But yeah, Buck Matthews. I wasn't going to say his name because I don't know if we get in trouble. Yeah, so he was hostile to anyone. Kind-hearted fellow, though, I could tell you.
Yeah, Buck was a great guy.
Yeah.
He came and got junk from my father's shop.
Yeah.
He was a good guy, real good guy.
I watched him looking for good stuff in the wrecking area. Good fellow, kind-hearted. He would give $100 to the workers in the junkyard at Christmas time. It was or at the the waste deposit area there. One of the
yeah, he was a good guy. Yeah. Buck was a great guy. I mean, no, the police wouldn't even go to his house to try to clean it up. If you wanted to go into his property, we had to go through a maze of junk. And he was standing at the end of it with a shotgun, probably.
Yes, he did. Yeah, a couple of the bylaw officers, I think, heard the shotgun be reported.
Yeah. So, Buck wasn't the guy you monkeyed around with. He had his property, and he liked his property, and
he's going to fill it up with as much junk as he wanted, and he was. And
that's right.
And I think he should have been grandfathered in because the bylaw really didn't affect his area until after he'd already been there doing what he did.
Yeah, we're going to see more of that as the city spreads out. As we spread out in the Montrose Road and the new hospital and those areas out there, a lot of these farmers in the old days, they didn't get rid of stuff at the junkyard. They just parked it out back. They just kept parking it out back. Old farm equipment, old cars, old whatever. And there it stayed, and nobody bugged them. Now, of course, it's a whole different story because you're going to have, people in houses there, and you got the one guy who didn't want to sell maybe, and they build around him, but it's a junkyard. So eventually they're all going to be encroached upon, much like the wildlife, and they have nowhere to go. So they're going to have a fight in their hands, the city, with these guys.
Our friend Nanette Miner had an old car he wanted to get fixed up and put it in the back of his brother's property there, and trees started growing out of it. So he never did get around to fixing it. And then I went back there, and there's trees and bushes growing right up through the floorboards. And
that's it for me, Davey boy. Other than that, I have nothing else to talk about.
I don't think I have much else either, except that, it should be fairly interesting. And anyway,
watch the my thing to watch would be the planning matters, which are going to be interesting. Probably the number 13.123 when Lori brings up her motions. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. You can listen to the transit report. Although we saw the dog and pony show last meeting, I believe it's going to be about the same. Graffiti action plan is going to be interesting to watch. See what they say about that, what they come up with. Everything but rest of the guys. Other than that, I don't see that much here that is going to be really, really talked about. Maybe the storm and wastewater, if anybody has any questions about that. But it's going to be a pretty calm meeting. They should get through it pretty fast, really, unless there's some major issues that we don't see. Now, just a little disclaimer here, because today we do the show so that you have it to watch, and you can watch the meeting tomorrow and know where you're going. But sometimes Tuesday mornings, they add to the agenda or subtract from it. Sometimes people who are going to do presentations don't, that kind of thing. So you have to look at it tomorrow morning to know exactly where it is and what's going on with it. And I'll look at it tomorrow, and if there's any items that are changed, I'll bring it up to your attention tomorrow morning. But other than that, that's basically the way it's going to go.
Yeah, there are some interesting things you can, like the Culp Street property, the Heritage. That might be cool. Interesting. The Benai Tikva thing, that could be very interesting as well. I kind of delved into that a bit. I thought that was really interesting. And the animal reclassification, that's very important too. So that brings us awareness to service dogs.
Yeah, no, the city council is going to talk about any of this stuff. Probably they're just going to say, "Okay, great."
Yeah, they're just going to give it a nod.
Okay, so that's it for today. That's City Council Agenda Review. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Paul Kellerman. This is Dave Wheeler. 4680Q Radio. Tomorrow, Chris Regis is coming in the studio, and we're going to we're going to discuss last week's federal election and actually what went down, what happened, why it happened, where we're going, fearless predictions. It's all going to come tomorrow with Chris Regis in here. He's going to give us the lowdown. Of course, Wednesdays, absolutely. Thursdays, Straight Talk Thursday, as usual. Finally Friday, and we're out of the week.
Yes, the political cycle of life didn't happen. You have liberals, and then you have conservatives, and then you have liberals. The cycle of life was interrupted.
Yeah, that's right.
And so let's see what you have.
You change politicians for the same reason you change your underwear. All these guys did was put them on backwards and tell you they had new underwear.
Yeah.
That's what somebody said online. I laughed my head off. Take care, everybody. God bless you all. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow with Straight Trash Talking Tuesday. Davey, thanks for coming in. Always a pleasure to have you in. Let's get out of here.
Yes, we will.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot, my friend.
Enjoy your vacation.
Yeah.